March. You want to see your father?
In 1970, in a house in Los Angeles, police officers opened a door and found something that would shock the entire scientific world. Not a crime scene, not a missing person. They found a 13-year-old girl who had never, in her entire life, been spoken to. Her name was Genie Wiley, and her story is not just one of the darkest childhoods ever recorded in American history. It is one of the most important scientific discoveries the human race has ever stumbled upon, because what she survived and what she can no longer do because of it changed everything we thought we knew about the human mind. When authorities found her, she could not speak. She could barely walk. She had spent roughly 12 years of her life confined, cut off from sunlight, from conversation, from the simple sound of another human voice saying her name with kindness. She had grown up in silence so complete, it had left a permanent mark, not just on her heart, but on her brain itself. Scientists had long believed in something called the critical period hypothesis. The idea is this, that every human child is born with a window of time, a biological clock built deep into the developing brain, during which language must be learned. It is not optional. It is not something you can come back to later. The brain in those early years is primed and ready, hungry for words, for sentences, for the back and forth rhythm of human conversation. And if that window closes before language arrives, it may never fully open again. Genie Wiley was, by the most heartbreaking accident of circumstance, a living test of that theory. And here's what amazed researchers who worked with her. Despite everything she had endured, despite years of silence and deprivation, Genie was not without intelligence. She was sharp. She was curious. She noticed things. She felt things deeply. When scientists began working with her, she began to learn. She picked up signs. She connected words to meanings. She communicated, genuinely communicated her emotions, her needs, her reactions to the world around her. But grammar, the invisible scaffolding that held the language together, that remained beyond her. She could say words. She could not build sentences the way a native speaker builds them, naturally, instinctively, without thinking. The window, it appears, had closed, and no amount of effort, patience, or love was able to fully reopen it. But here is what the textbooks sometimes forget to say. Genie was not a case study. She was a child who had been failed. First by the people who were supposed to protect her, and then, in a quieter but no less real way, by a system that saw her suffering as an opportunity. For years, she sat at the center of one of the most closely watched scientific efforts in the history of psychology. Researchers, linguists, and therapists circled around her, drawn by the rarity of what she represented, by the answers she might give to questions the scientific world had been asking for decades. And through it all, she was a 13-year-old girl, trying to understand a world that had hidden itself from her for most of her life. The tension between her welfare and the research surrounding her became one of the defining ethical questions of the entire case. And it is a question that still has no clean answer. After years of study, the funding ended. As quietly as it had begun, the scientific attention moved on. Genie was placed in various care facilities, passing through hands that were not always gentle, into circumstances that were not always kind. The girl who had given so much, without ever being asked, faded from public view. Her story, however, did not. Today, Genie Wiley's case is taught in universities around the world, in linguistics, in psychology, in ethics, because she proved something that no experiment could ever have been designed to prove. That language is not simply a skill. It is something that must be given to a child at the right time by people who care enough to speak. Early social interaction is not a feature of a good childhood. It is a foundation of a human life. And she raised a question that science still wrestles with. Where's the line between studying suffering and prolonging it? When does research stop being care? Today, her location is kept private. She has given enough. The least the world can offer her, after everything, is silence and peace.